Joining me now is a former Knockouts Division champion and a lady who provides instant excitement every time she enters an Impact Wrestling ring. I'm talking about the one and only Havok. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I talked about the excitement level that you bring, but you've got to be excited right now, not just to be a part of the Impact Knockouts Division, but Impact Wrestling as a whole. You guys have really been on a roll lately.
That would be an understatement. I could not be more proud of how far Impact Wrestling has come, and I could not be more grateful to be part of such an amazing women's division in the Knockout.
You're kind of part of that old school division of the Knockouts. You've been you've had a couple stints with Impact, and you started out very young in the business. What have you learned in your travels now as a veteran? What are some of the most important lessons, I guess I would say, that you've learned?
So I've been wrestling 17 years now, and I would say, I wouldn't trade any of the experiences that I've had in my career thus far for the world, like for anything. I think some of the moments that I've had that stand out the most, that I've learned the most, is just getting to wrestle some of the veterans and the women that I looked up to when I was growing up, and watching women's wrestling. And women's wrestling in general was much different when I started, because it wasn't taken as seriously. There weren't as many women around, and there weren't any, aside from Shimmer, there weren't any women's wrestling companies that I knew of. And when Impact was TNA, I feel like the Knockout division was probably the biggest part, and it's just really cool to go from being someone who grew up watching all these different women killing it, and in my opinion, they were way before their time, especially now with all of the platforms that women have to show their craft in the ring. It means a lot to me to be part of that. I was part of that school division there for about a year, and I did beat Gail Kim for the Knockouts Championship on the main event of a TNA show, and that was huge for me. It was a very humbling, very extraordinary experience for my career, and I'll never forget things like that. Just competing on TV with these women, and even now, I feel like we have the best women's division on TV. We may not be the biggest women's division, but I truly feel that we do have the best, and it's amazing to me to be able to say that I'm part of that division. I've learned a lot through the years, just traveling, finding who I am. I would say about 5 years in is when I figured out who I was in the ring. And then I just kind of went from there, and I found things that I liked style-wise, and I put my own twist on it. And I've always been a bigger girl in wrestling, so I use that to my advantage with the style that I use in the ring. I got to wrestle in Japan for a few months, years back, and I feel like I did come back a better wrestler because of training in Japan with those girls, and just literally wrestling 3 shows a week, every single week. And these are all moments that I've learned from and that I'll never forget. And one particular thought that stands out is getting to wrestle Jazz in an Impact ring, and she was one of my favorite performers growing up. It was very surreal for me, and I felt like it came full circle. And Jazz and I have an awesome relationship anyway. I call her my wrestling mom. So I think it's things like that. It just kind of puts things in perspective for you. You go from watching these amazing women to eventually sharing a locker room with and being peers with them. And I don't think that many people could say that about, there's not many jobs you could say that about.
And now many of the young wrestlers aspire to someday get to face you in the ring. So you kind of achieved that level as well.
crazy to think about, honestly, because I don't really think of myself like on the same level as a lot of these women, but I have gotten many messages from girls over the years, just saying how much I inspired them, that you don't have to look a certain way to be a wrestler, and and it's so nice and humbling, and it just it's things like that I appreciate, because there are a lot of downsides, or there can be a lot of downsides in this business. We do make a lot of sacrifices, but when I hear things like that or get messages like that from people, it makes it all worth it.
Now, I'm going to change gears on you a little bit, switch gears on you here a little bit, and ask you, because, you hail from Ohio, and over the last 15 or 20 years, it seems like every time I turn around, there's another young, great wrestler from Ohio. What are they putting in the water in the Buckeye State that keeps producing so many great pro wrestlers?
Man, I do not know. I'm telling you, though, Ohio breeds so many talented wrestlers, though. Like, that, and that's one thing. Like, people make fun of those of us from Ohio, every wrestler from Ohio just has to say, yeah, I'm from Ohio, and it's like, okay, well, Ohio's awesome. So sorry, but it does so happen that there are many talented athletes, even in other sports and wrestling, that come from this great state.
I want to pull you back a little bit. I talked about you've had a couple different runs with Impact, but you entered the company in around 2014, 2015. And I got to ask you at that point, because you had spent a lot of time on the indie circuit. What were your nerves like when you entered Impact and realized, hey, I'm going to be on national television now?
So it was like a total, it's hard to put into words. So when I first got to Impact, I was only about 10 or 11 years in. And I felt I was a pretty well-established wrestler on the independent. I wrestled many different at many different companies in many different countries at that point, and I was just like, okay, I just kind of went into it. I was really excited. I was very, very nervous, and when I got there, I felt like it's so much different being at a TV company than on the indies. Like, there are many things that are different, and I went from being someone who was established on the independents to coming into a TV company with all these amazing people and feeling like, man, do I know what I'm doing? Like, it was definitely a challenge, and I would be lying if I said that I didn't lose confidence when I got there, because I definitely started to question if I deserved to be there to begin with. It can be really nerve-wracking, and you have to really just, even if you're not confident, carry yourself with confidence. And I wouldn't say that I wasn't ready, because I feel like I've worked really hard, and I continue to work really hard in wrestling. And it was a big learning experience for me. And when I left, I was definitely sad about it, but I think it was a good opportunity for me to use that as motivation to kind of go off and get more experience and know in my head, okay, this is how TV works now, and I 100% would love another opportunity with Impact, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the best person I could be in the ring. And I finally, once I felt like I, kind of had that confidence again, there was a joint show that Impact did with Pro Wrestling Revolver, and it was me and Nevaeh, we wrestled against Madison Rain and another girl, and it was a tag match. It went well, and it was odd. I felt it was odd because we won the match, but I remember walking up to Scott D'Amore, shaking his hand and thanking him for the opportunity, and I told him, I would really love another opportunity at Impact Wrestling if you ever have room for me. I've wrestled every single one of the women that you have, and I've had great matches with all of them, and I would love to show you what I could bring to the table. And the rest is history. So, and I feel like I'm doing much, much better this time around, and I feel like I couldn't be more confident to work for Impact Wrestling, and I'm proud to be part of Impact.
One of the ladies that you had some of those great battles with is Rosemary, but as we've seen on the show this week, it seems like Havok and Rosemary have formed a bond now, and they've got their sights set on the tag team titles.
So Rosemary and I have had lots and lots of wars. We have fought each other, and just over the past, ever since I stepped foot back into Impact Wrestling, even before that. She is someone who I know very well, and vice versa. It would appear that we see ourselves on the same side of fights lately. I think that she and I have come to an understanding that there's potential here. I'm still not quite sure. She's been pestering me anyway, to come home, to come to Decay, to come home, and it's one of those things where all of my trust is not quite there yet, but I could not see. I'm seeing eye to eye with Rosemary more than I ever have. And I saw an opportunity where things were not fair, and especially Natasha and Kira, Aya and Slava, they are always barking, they're always pestering everyone, they're always a headache, and they're always clowning everyone, and I think it's time that they get their due. So, when Rosemary was wrestling Kira, and Tasha decided to put her nose in it, not once, but twice, I had to step in and do something. It kind of was something that overtook me. I can't explain why I decided it was up to me, but I think overall, we are sick of these ladies running amok the way they do, and I think that somebody needs to put an end to it. So maybe, just maybe, it might be Havok and Rosemary.
You've received an awful lot of support from the fans recently, but really throughout your entire run with Impact, you've always been able to draw reaction from the audience. What would your message be to all those loyal Impact fans out there?
If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. And I know that sounds cliche to say, but that is what I truly believe. You have to have support. And the loyal Impact fans, they are the best. Because from day one, it's always been the cool thing, at least for the last several years, it's been a cool thing for everybody to make fun of Impact, hate on Impact, but they have such a loyal fan base, and it's growing. I have been able to bring more fans over to Impact just because I'm there. Again, I've been wrestling 17 years, so there are a lot of fans that I met from day one who still have my back today, and they would have never given Impact a chance because all they ever hear is, people being negative. But I think that we're showing, especially over the last few years, that Impact is here and it's not going anywhere, and we have an amazing roster full of amazing talent. And I couldn't be prouder of our company and the fan base. The fans are where it's at.
And those fans will be gathering Saturday, July 17th for Slammiversary. Haven't heard yet what your role is going to be. Is there any chance you can drop any hints about any diabolical plots you and Rosemary may have up your sleeves?
Well, I think that the best thing I can say is just keep watching Impact. I don't really know what role I will play yet, but if I have anything to say about it, I'm hoping to be there. I cannot wait, whether I'm on the card or watching the monitor in the back. I am so excited that at our biggest pay-per-view of the year, we get to have fans back. This is huge. It's been so difficult for so many people the last year and a half, and I cannot wait to see and feel that energy. So that's the best I can tell you.
I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know all the fans are. Havok, I want to thank you so much for your time today, and best luck in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.